I don't know how to capture the Jimmy Butler story in a way that's not that. Because if you like from your sports coverage, not the day-to-day stuff, but your announcers having to eat it, this guy has beaten the respect out of me. If I am one of these dozen gas bags that gets to set the agenda on whatever the topics are in sports that day, and anybody can come in and out of this. Patrick Beverley's still on your television for the
36 consecutive hours. The man will not leave.
But if that's the place where the stories are told, to me, the Celtics-Heat stuff that you like, I don't know how you'd want to talk about that game, but the idea that Tatum has to get past Jimmy Butler and whatever you think of their personality types, those are two very good teams, but we've done the hierarchy and we've been watching long enough that Jason Tatum took that team from Jaylen Brown. Like now he took all of what was happening there and Nolan said, mine, I carry it as far as this goes. I will get better. And in that first half last night, the stories he was telling is, no, even against this defense, I will make it look silly. I will make all these difficult shots. And you start to tell the story, and yes, they crowned him at halftime. And these are the stories that we tell. It's the business that we're in.
It's a story. I actually like the writer stuff that you're applying to this Celtics Heat series, because if Boston wins and Jason Tatum finds a way to get past the block that was at the rim the last time they played at the Eastern Conference Finals, I think that this is a growing rivalry within the NBA that gets cast aside. I guess it's because we're still relatively, in terms of NBA history, a new kid on the block, and I don't understand it. Because this is truly, I was guilty of doing this yesterday on the show when I was trying to get people hyped up for this series. Truly is the best two teams in the 21st century in this conference. And Miami's been considerably better than Boston in the 21st century in this conference. And I'd really like the national media to take a hint from us in talking about it this way, because there are great stories here, great struggles, great cultural dynamics that are in direct opposition of one another, and you could really build this up into a huge number. But they don't know how to do that without a true star. So it'll be interesting to see what today brings, and the coverage leading up into Game 2 is, can they build Jimmy Butler up into this mythic star? They know how to give you a Game 7 with Giannis. They know how to do Steph Curry games. Hell, they're starting to learn how to do Ja Morant games. They were trying to make Jason Tatum the draw here. Can they do it with Jimmy Butler? Because now if you have two feuding stars, you tap into what made the NBA great in the 80s, where they figured it out.
The best numbers, Stugotz, in the playoffs so far has been when the Nets thing met the historic Boston thing. And we were really ready to crown. Look at Tatum doing it to Durant. Symbolically, between Durant and Kyrie, there's the passing of the torch. These are league partnership stories that are being told. ESPN and TNT will help in the birthing of these stars and these stories. And in the first half, Tatum looked unstoppable, and then he had 7 turnovers for the game. And in a half, that quickly, Stugotz, that fast, it goes from, holy shit, Jason Tatum, he's here, he's arrived, he's a star, he's doing it on the next stage against Miami, he's going to get over them, and then it gets harder in the second half, he's tired, he had to go through Giannis, and it's a bunch of turnovers, and you say, oh, look, they did this to Trae Young and James Harden as well defensively, where there are a lot of strips there all of a sudden that he wasn't expecting.
There is a general laziness, and I say this as a frustrated consumer, and a fan too, because I think ESPN can tell these stories when they're dedicated to it better than anybody. Whether it's a college game day voiced read that makes you feel things about Purdue football headed into a game against Ohio State that you didn't think possible, to the point that you're crying at the end of the game, to the point that you care about El Tráfico. They have a way.
That's Rinaldi. I mean,
yeah, well, it's not just Rinaldi. They have ways to do this, and we see with their daytime programming. They can build people up to as stars. It's me as a Florida Panthers fan, where I get frustrated is all season long, the major TV networks that had league partnerships decided, yeah, we're not going to show this team on TV. And when it comes time to picking a team first pick, yeah, let's go with the Rangers. Far less interesting series, but it's New York. We can do that. No. Take time throughout the season. Build up these storylines. You're better at it than anybody, get people to care. And I really hope that they can do that with Jimmy Butler and Miami, because this is a very interesting team. It's a team that's so different than anybody else. Amplify the jagged altercation and the man-made of barbed wire. Really you can craft Miami into a modern-day bad boy Pistons team if you really put your storytelling devices to its best possible use.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but if we don't know what's going on down here, and you love the team, and you watch them every single night, how are they supposed to know what the hell is going on? Like, this is hard to explain. It is.
But we also get super frustrated anytime the national TV media tries to talk about Miami Heat basketball. They flatly don't watch.
Right.
I was discovering people on my timeline genuinely watching Miami play basketball for the first time this year.
When I called you Chris Ryan earlier, I was laughing at the thing that I sent you guys of Jalen Rose. And Lord knows I've made enough mistakes today to know how some of this stuff stumbles around on television. But he was working in a tight window, and he could not say the name Adebayo. And he stumbled on it 4 times and never got it right, and tried to sneak it into somebody else's following point and still got it wrong again. And I don't even say it to indict him. It's a difficult name, but it just suggested to me, oh, you just got here with some of this stuff, correct?
They're talking about him and them for the first time. Yes, Jay Williams this morning was doing, are the Heat the most underappreciated franchise in all of sports? I mean,
the answer is yes.
Yes.
I know Mike Schur just
welcome
threw
to the party,
his
you know?
AirPods from his ears, but they don't get nearly enough credit or respect, Mike Schur, nationally, to be able to get back to this mountaintop with a third core during 2 decades. You don't have comps for an expanded NBA for what Miami is doing right now.
I am super annoyed, and I'd like to be taken off the text string with you and Mike Schur as you have this argument about whether Miami's getting enough respect or not getting enough respect.
Boy.
Mike Schur is a coward who will not do a watch party with us for any of these Celtics-Heat games because he gets too emotional as a fan. And I think he knows that loud and boisterous and brown belly Miami is going to enjoy the fight of this, a fight that Miami has won. And Boston has no real reason to feel confident about its team because Boston has not been better than this team for a while. That's the passing of the torch that's happening right now. That's why I love the storytelling in it that runs through Ainge leaving that job, never getting there, Brad Stevens rising up to the spot that Ainge was in, but the fight goes back. The story on this, Winning Time, is on HBO. We're living it. It's Pat Riley, the godfather or the grandfather, with this franchise that he has fought for 50 fucking years.
I enjoyed my one night off from playoff action Monday night.
It was nice
because it allowed me to catch up on Winning Time. And you see a sequel to Winning Time, a great supplemental view is Miami Heat, Boston Celtics. Because you see all those storylines still playing out. At the heart of it, it's still Pat Riley. It's still fuck Boston. It's still this sentiment.
Pat Riley in a documentary, fictional comedy, artful. It's really amazingly done. I really love watching it just because of how much Larry Bird looks like Larry Bird and how much Kareem looks like Kareem in the post. Like, if just for that, I'm like, holy shit, this is hard to replicate.
That show is so good at times. And so cheesy at times.
Yes, a little.
So are the Lakers.
Some of the sports stuff is heavy-handed. Some of the sports stuff, coach rallying around coach, whatever. But in it, Pat Riley, and this is true, the truest sentiment in it, as Jerry West threatens to take to the Supreme Court his characterization, is fuck Boston. Yeah, just understand that the truest sentiment in it, there is a point and a purpose for that scene with Pat Riley. It's 50 years old. He's got a terrible mustache, and he looks like a carpenter/surfer who's a bum, who's not good at his job, who's down on his luck.
I'm curious if Jerry West only watched the first episode. Because I think Jerry West comes out better than anyone in this show.
Why? He quit and then he can't stay away.
He's got the most fascinating character. It's played pitch perfect. Is the actor Jason Clarke?
Yeah, that is great. He's a great actor.
He absolutely nails it. I think he has, for someone that is so unbalanced, he also has some of the more redeeming qualities in the show. Because no one really, in the Showtime Lakers, you got Jeannie. That one's easy. But honestly, I think it's Jerry West because it's the most transparent relationship that you have. You have scenes that it's just Spencer Haywood is acting his ass off.
Yes.
That whole scene with him and Kareem, pretty sure it didn't happen that way, but that was dramatic as all get out. And then a couple minutes later, if you're watching nonstop, you have the scene of Kareem and his wife, and that scene is terrible. That you have peak of acting, lower rung.
McKay says the fifth episode, the Kareem episode of Winning Time, is one of his favorite pieces of television or art that he's ever been involved with. But that story being told now, Stugotz, Pat Riley has hated Boston for a long time, and here it is again. His Frankenstein monster. What Jason Tatum has to crawl through is made of metal. Like
yes.
it's a spider monster made of metal, and it's going to be difficult. It gets harder in each round. It's going to get harder for the Heat in this round too, because I believe it's going to be a long series. I don't believe there's a big difference between these two teams.
I think he gets through Durant, Kyrie, then Giannis, defending champs, and thinks this is going to be easier, and it's not. This team is really good defensively, and Jimmy Butler is a superstar, and no one, not even Pat Riley, saw this coming with Jimmy Butler. Like, I don't care what he tells me, no one saw this coming. But if I'm a Celtic fan, I guess what I'm holding out for, if I'm holding out, any sort of hope, is Horford out, Marcus Smart out, okay? We were still up at half. We lost by 11 points. We got a shot in this series.
Pat did kind of see it coming with Jimmy Butler because he handed him a contract that he swore that he wouldn't hand to anybody north of 30.
But Mike,
and he was hanging on to a couple of weeks left before 30th birthday to rationalize what he did, and then he gave him a monster extension after one season. You have to give him credit because he was burned by bad contracts. He got the superstar with no cap room, and he doubled down on it after his stock was at an all-time high.
From Zach Lowe saying, and this was without a pick above 13 in the draft, Zach Lowe saying Miami's got the bleakest position in the entire league. From there, they've done what they've done with not an ability to trade a whole lot. They got Jimmy Butler because they did believe that this.
Well, they also hit on Bam. They hit on Tyler Hero. Like, they hit on a bunch of guys.
Yeah, but
right?
nobody over a 13. And yes, they believe that Jimmy Butler. Look, Stugotz, I think the audience would be with me on this. What's the comp to the Jimmy Butler story? Guy that you've all sort of underestimated, because I'm not alone here. There are not many people who could say, I had Jimmy Butler as, yes, he'll drag my team to the finals, 41 points a game if he has to get 41 points a game. Like, that's not and 2 at a time and 20 free throws like old Wade.
Are you looking for a comp where a guy is Jimmy Butler and then turns into Michael Jordan?
I'm looking for a comp where Jimmy Butler goes from that guy's not a superstar to yes, he is a superstar overnight. Because Stugotz, what I'm telling you with Jordan, I don't know, man, this shit has changed so much in so many years. But with Jordan, I remember the years and years before he became glorious winner, Stugotz.
Of course.
Where he was always the guy that will not win. That is not enough. It is not good enough. It's not that he needs teammates. It's that he's not good enough.
The style play, right. The scoring, the inability to pass, right.
It's not the coach. It's he's selfish. He's scoring too much. That's not, you got to play team basketball. That's what Michael Jordan climbed over. What do you mean that Jimmy Butler's going to put up Jordan-type numbers in the playoffs and he's not going to be able to shoot threes? Like,
well, he's shooting them better now.
Well, but you know what I mean? That the game is not predicated on people fearing him from three, that he's doing it with free throws and he's playing the game inside of a phone booth. Like, that dude's going to be the only one playing in the paint? Like that, after the Celtics took the game in the paint in the first half, that dude is going to go get all his buckets in the paint because he's going to go for Miami and just go and go and go and stop anything that resembles Boston getting back into the game, because he'll just get 2 free throws over here and bring the game to a screeching halt.
You're asking for a comp. I don't think there is one. I mean, Dan, we've never seen this. A guy who Stan Van Gundy said if he's your number 1, your team's not very good. If he's your number 3, he's really good. And now we're comparing him to Michael Jordan. Like, he's playing, the numbers suggest.
I'm not comparing him to Michael Jordan. I'm just telling you that numerically, these playoff numbers, he's been the best player in the playoffs. And yes. I'm asking, it's storytelling time. Tell me all the times that you have seen somebody climb over the heap and grab the stardom from us after this many miles on his body, Stugotz. Like it doesn't make sense for him to be better than he's ever been, more dominant than he's ever been in these playoffs at this age with the mileage that body has.
Matthew Dellavedova. Delhi. He got like a $60 million contract off that NBA Finals.
The Jordan comparisons are ridiculous, but we're just talking about quantifiable numbers here. If you look at the stats, that's a class he's in right now. But if you watch the games, he's also, I think that's what's so cool about how Jimmy's getting these points, because he's getting them in a throwback fashion. That it's kind of like when you watch the NFL now and you see a team with a good defense and a running game and a really good running game, it kind of interests you because you're like, oh, I remember when teams used to do that. And you kind of root for them the way that you root for a pitcher to go into the ninth inning.
You're rooting for the Colts?
I'm rooting for something different. I did like when the Cowboys had a couple, and I like the 49ers, their run-based offense. I find it refreshing. And I do find how Jimmy Butler goes about getting his points in what is now an unconventional fashion compared to the other stars to be an interesting watch.
Can you put it on the poll,
Watch.
please?
The watch.
At LeBatard Show, the 49ers, do you find their run-first style refreshing?
I do.
Because I don't know the show that you're doing right now, but Chris winced, Cody winced when you were as happy as all get out.
I was like, did he say that? I think
feel
Mike
like-
just said it. Like he wasn't doing it to do a thing.
No, Mike, what Mike
2 points at a time.
Mike-
Go to the charity stripe.
Mike
Happy
is
as all
a
get out.
rumbling, emotional cauldron.
How
of-
old is the person that generally says that phrase? Of all get all? Oh God,
What, charity stripe?
Truly's got you.
What happened?
it's been a long couple days, man.
Mm-hmm. Playoff hockey.
You want to try it again?
As all get out.
Yeah.
There you go.
I found that person to be very happy-go-lucky.
Oh, for
Like,
crying out
oh,
loud.
we're having you don't have a care in the world.
Let's Roy just express his dismay at our dated sense of verbiage by saying "for crying out loud."
Exactly.
Yeah, all right.
What's wrong with that?
I said
though?
as all get out, and his response is, "Who says that? For crying out loud."
Was Dr. J kind of the same thing? A lot of people said the same things about him.
My
Also, in winning time, why does the casting of Dr. J seem older than Dr. J does
He
now?
seems 60. He seems
Most
62.
that show they knocked it out the park with casting, and Dr. J seems older than he does right now.
Did you love Mike Epps as Richard Pryor?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, he was supposed to
supposed to do a
star.
movie.
He was supposed to star as Richard Pryor in a movie, and I don't know if it ever happened. So it was cool that he finally got to play the role there. I also think they nailed the casting of Larry Bird. And you know who was supposed to? He's
It's
great.
unbelievable.
My
It's
favorite parts of the
unbelievable.
show are just Larry Bird and how they use him. You know who was supposed to play Larry Bird, who was under contract, I think, to play Larry Bird, and he bailed? Bo Burnham. Yeah, and then that Netflix special took off, and he bowed out.
I think Michael Shannon was originally going to play what
Jerry
John C.
Buss.
Riley is playing there.
Yeah, it was Michael Shannon, then Will Ferrell, and that's been well documented, and it became John C. Riley, and now to the point that I can't imagine anybody
He's
else playing
crushing
Jerry
it.
Bird. Yeah, he's
Oh, I
great.
love that character.
I do find it funny because Wood Harris plays Spencer Hayward. They have him looking like Teddy Pendergrass. Like,
He
it's just-
looks
exactly
60. Did Spencer Haywood look 60 in 1980?
yes.
How real?
He
How
actually
real
did.
is the
Put it
Spencer
on the-
Haywood
yes,
stuff?
he did. Put it on the poll. Did Spencer Haywood look 60 in 1980?
Still looked younger than Dr. J did.
Yeah.
What
Really?
was this casting? They kill it with everybody else.
Speaking of guys who look 60, Udonis Haslam.
What?
Am I the only one comforted by having Udonis when they're down in the first half and UD is standing on the sideline, basically coaching, right? And he's bent down like he's playing defense, and he's talking to the guys. Hey, we're only down 10. Let's go. Heat basketball every time out. Something about having that man on the sideline comforts me. We are going to figure it out. We are going to win this game. We are going to win this series simply because Udonis Haslam is standing there cheering the guys on.
It's ridiculous.
What do you mean?
It's just absurd.
Well,
He's a coach on a vet's minimum salary. That's essentially the arrangement that they've worked out
That's
for the
what
last
he's
4
doing.
years.
Yeah.
Because they owe him money from, like, what was it, 2010?
He took a bunch of discounts.
He's taking a bunch of discounts. It's basically, we're going to pay you to be an assistant coach 2 times what an assistant coach would make.
I'm telling you, like PJ Tucker comes off, he's hurt. The foot is hurt, and Udonis has his hand on his shoulder, and I'm telling you, that's what healed
Like
PJ
Mr.
Tucker.
Miyagi?
Yes.
Like Mr. Miyagi?
Well, PJ Tucker said it was a genie. He said they've got a genie in the locker room, which I always assume is
PJ
some
Tucker's
form of Toradol.
37. He's 37. He's in any other team, he'd be the Udonis Haslam.
He's not just 37. He's brooding in a way that scares Spoelstra, who looks at Jimmy Butler and reportedly, according to Windhorst, says, I always knew you were crazy. Just stays away from PJ Tucker and doesn't ask if he'll please sit, because PJ Tucker either, according to Spoelstra, growls or snarls or tells him to go bleep himself, because PJ Tucker does not miss games. Evidently, he's missed, like 8 in his career or something absurd?
I've said this before. It is a damn shame PJ Tucker hasn't played his entire career down here. He's only been here for a season, and he's just such a perfect fit for this team. UD would probably kick my ass. I know he would kick my ass after this take, but it kind of feels like UD's been this version far longer than he was actually like on the court kicking ass, winning championships for the Miami Heat.
This is absolutely a funny bridge transition to he has been an assistant coach in uniform that you need for the moment that Jimmy Butler and Spoelstra are going at it, and Spoelstra realized, wait a minute, this dude would actually kick my ass, and then where are we? We're dealing with the Sprewell stuff, like, because we're both enraged and I didn't have Udonis Haslam here to pull him off of me?
But he always needs to be in uniform. Like, even if Udonis decides to coach, he needs to coach in a uniform. That's all I'm saying.
But there's like some weird
something
mindset.
comforting about
There's
him.
some weird mind stuff that's happening where when we talk about UD's legacy, it's going to be really hard for us to separate this version of UD. Every 2 weeks in, I like to watch Game 6 against the Hornets to see D-Wade go off and yell at purple shirt guy. That's something I do every 2 weeks. It gets me jazzed up.
I love it, but it's weird.
One of the things that surprises me every time I watch D-Wade absolutely stick it in purple shirt guy, who has never been seen or heard from ever again.
Wade ended him?
Yeah. It's that Udonis Haslam's on the court during those crucial minutes as the Heat are trying to fight off elimination. And I'm pretty sure that was weird back then. Yeah. But like, this is a surprise.
Still here.
And that was 2017?
Oh, come on, man. Like, he is the leading rebounder in franchise history, undrafted, and even as, I love it as a symbol, even as Amin has told us that there was a verb at one point on how to play defense in the league. It was to Haslam. You would Haslam, which is leave that guy over there to shoot corner jumpers if he wants.
But I dare you to leave him open to shoot those baseline J's.
I know, but
earlier in his career.
But that was
after he hurt his foot.
He helped drag you through Dallas. There was a road game in Dallas where you needed everything Udonis Haslam was doing. A road game in Dallas when Wade and LeBron were scared of the noise.
Oh, UD had Dirk in a gulag. And then in 2000, I like Andrew Luck popping in every now and then.
That's the only word that he would do it with. it's a great word.
Gulag.
Gulag and beautiful.
There's phlegm on the
beautiful
front and back
gulag.
end.
You had Dirk Nowitzki in 2006. Baseline Jays. Beautiful gulag.
This is ridiculous.
You had him in a gulag that was beautiful in the month of June.
Udonis has played, like, if I asked you for minutes, it would be 14 minutes in 5 years or something, right? It would be 5 years. It would be.
He doesn't need to play. I mean, him not playing is better than him playing.
I just love that you're paying him just to be comforting.
Yes, of course. I'm telling you, the Heat players were comforted by Udonis last night. They were like, I felt them a little bit nervous. Hey, the Celtic team's really good. Al's not here. Smart's not here. Then they called the timeout. And Spo wasn't talking to the team. It was Udonis. I love it.
It's such a great job when you think about it, because don't you love the idea that Pat Riley can come to Udonis Haslam, undrafted, former fat kid out of Florida, and just ask him, hey, the thing with Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler, like, what really happened there? Like, as someone who's both a coach and a player, and you're in the middle of it, like, can you explain that to me? Where are we on this situation where everyone wants to kill each other? Can you tell me the honest thing that we're like, what we need to address here?
Heat are so confusing because you look at UD's contribution and you could point to it and make the argument that's exactly why you don't have the G Leaguer on the two-way contract, because of what he brings to the table. And yet, Gabe Vincent and Max Strus team up for 27 points in the second half, and you can't help but wonder, if someone else was in that role, might they be a future All-NBA contributor? Haywood Highsmith may be a future All-Star, just given how this franchise develops. Say I'm wrong.
You're going to get your ass kicked though, because you just said that it's not. You want a random D-League spot for a position that's Heat culture symbolic. Like Udonis Haslam represents everything that they want as the bridge between where Jimmy Butler and Eric Spoelstra almost come to blows.
What I'm saying is that the Heat, confusingly enough, provide the argument for both sides, because UD does absolutely lend something. And if this team does win the Eastern Conference Championship and we continue building the narrative around that Jimmy Spo fight, who was in the middle of it? Udonis Haslam. Who was backing up his coach? Udonis Haslam. Also, Gabe Vincent torched the Celtics. He was a DMP 2 years ago.
Because of UD, though.
Max Strus was going at Joel Embiid last round. They know how to develop players, and I would love to see the next version. Who's the next Caleb Martin? Who's the next Gabe Vincent? Who's the next Max Strus?
We have talked a lot about how the fandom of Miamians was made by the basketball fight of LeBron, Dwayne, and Bosh against everybody. I'm asking everybody who's listening to me how I'm supposed to frame at storytelling time that after the last dance that Mike Ryan proclaimed one of the heights of the pandemic.
Number 5.
As we celebrated the sneaker commercial and the TV partner gathering together, Stugotz.
I have it written down in front of me.
It is. It was number 5. You were surprised
number 5,
that it
Coach
was that
Doug,
low.
Tiger King, Christmas, David Guetta. There's something else in there.
Boston Radio was after Christmas.
Boston Radio. Yeah, that's right. Sorry. The hub.
Jimmy Butler, asshole winner.
Multiple hubs were my favorite part of the quarantine.
You tell me how I'm supposed to frame the stories if the numbers keep being Michael Jordan-esque when all he's doing is shoving in my face and in everyone's face. You underestimated that I could be capable of this. You continue to be surprised every time I put up 41 points, but this is who I am now. If we're in the middle of the cruelest times, Stugotz, and how we analyze this, everybody's got a voice, and it's always about where do I blame, where do I blame, where do I blame? And we'll seize Tatum in a second here if Jimmy Butler eats his face. We'll go after Tatum.
We won't get Butler
But what I'm
credit.
asking,
You're
are
right.
we going to asshole is winner guy? Fueled by some of the ugly stuff that Michael Jordan spit at you in the Hall of Fame speech, like still bitter, still angry. I'm asking you, how am I supposed to frame this story? If this guy comes in and wins this next 7 that he needs to win to knock out a Golden State team that I don't think he could beat, when it comes to the storytelling time of who gets to win history, Stugotz, and who gets the next winning time, and who gets the next last dance, are we watching the asshole as competitor take our respect one angry burst at a time that even causes sparks with the metal machine that is grandfathered in by Pat Riley with Fuck Boston?
Can I ask you a question? Because you're asking this on the positive end. On the flip side, if the Heat lose in these conference finals and Jimmy Butler has a bad finals, would we even make the losing about him? Because every playoff series so far has been about burying the loser, right? Kevin Durant in the first round and Chris Paul in Phoenix. Like, would we even bury Harden? Would we bury Jimmy Butler for not being able to live up to expectations?
It will be it's going to be.
It'll be crowning Tatum. It'll be the rare time where it's
in the
praise.
conference finals,
right? And what I'm saying is,
it will be a crowning of Jason Tatum. And if Butler loses in the finals, it will be Steph Curry, it will be the Warriors, or a crowning of Luka.
That's in some ways an even bigger indication of like how much Jimmy Butler has to go to get that superstar respect. Is that even his losing is not really this perilous. He's never won a title. He'll never win a title. Like, he doesn't even enter the sports debate frame
one doubts,
in that respect.
No one doubts after he dragged that team to the final that Jimmy Butler is made of whatever championship medal it is that you need to be made of. He earned it. He played LeBron in a bubble, and whether you is Russo on right now? Did we forget again that Russo is on the television right now?
Yeah,
Dog in a Wednesday.
Stephen A. just took a sip from a mimosa.
A condescending sip.
That he seems to be holding with his thumb.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that's possible.
Stephen A. said he received a text from Jimmy Butler after the game saying, "You slept on me." I love that Jimmy's doing that. I love it.
Mad Dog looks great.
He does. I mean, fresh.
Wow.
Yes.
He really does look fresh off vacation. Chris, can you go into the other room, please, and do a live report here on Billy is not in today on what is happening on First Take. Stephen A. Smith is going to join us here at some point, and so too is Judd Apatow at some point today.
Dan, you're asking how to write this story, and I don't know. You get first crack at it because this story has never been written. We've never seen anything like this.
Well, but
if he finishes it off,
in a
He has to
segment-
finish it off.
he has to finish it
because
off.
I think it becomes a Pat Riley story more than even
It might.
as much
or
as
a
it's a
culture
Jimmy
story,
Butler story.
right? Organization story.
For Pat to dig
Yeah.
himself out of the
Right.
death blow of LeBron leaving and winning a third title with a third different
It needs
core.
to be about Jimmy, though. It does. Like, Mike, you're right. What you're saying is exactly right.
Getting ahead of ourselves, by the way. This is going to be a long series.
I know.
In
But if he knocks this team off and then it's Golden State next, it has to be about Jimmy.
In the hour, Mike, that began here with you talking about the writer stuff that I do that is annoying, we are living in the time that we will tell as the history in these battles, wherever it is that you get emotionally tied to this crud that we do, the silliness that takes you away for a couple of weeks in an insane America and the pandemic and lets you enjoy something and feel good. We are telling these stories now, and the environment in which they're told, Stugotz, is crueler than it has ever been. It's harder. It's about blame. It's not about credit.
Yep.
If Jimmy Butler goes and grabs the credit, it is too early for all of that. It is. And maybe he can't do it. It's hard to do. And maybe injuries are caused and it doesn't mean anything. Al Horford was out. Maybe Boston beats Jimmy Butler. That's not my point in any of it. I'm not overreacting to one game. I'm telling you, this dude has already disproven anything I thought he was. He does not have to do anything with me anymore. I'm assuming with the audience, he doesn't have to do anything for you. You're like, yep, that dude's good enough.
Yep.
He's a great player and he earns his money. And furthermore, I don't totally understand how he does it at this age with how much basketball has changed. Like, you've got to respect it. Everybody, gangsters throughout the sport have to be like, yes, genuflect. The man's a badass, indisputably. But are we going to enjoy it? Because we're busy crowning the younger stars. Jimmy Butler's not going to get to be one of the younger stars. It's going to be Antetokounmpo, Luka, Tatum, Ja, like the new guys coming for Durant and LeBron. Kawhi Leonard is off in the shadows now. His body couldn't hold this. His younger body couldn't hold this. Jimmy Butler continues through Thibodeau. Like, it doesn't make sense what you're watching physically, that this person could do LeBron things of strength when he's not that size, that the strength of that man must be unholy. Like,
he's incredible. Yes.
But beyond where James Harden's strength is, the physical strength of that man in that sport, to be like, I'm going to will all of this physically, even though I'm undersized for what it is that I'm going into.
Are we going to enjoy it? The country at large will not. We will, of course, down here in Miami. But even we don't know how to explain this, Dan. But yeah, we're going to enjoy the hell out of it. We were wrong, too, by the way. We didn't think Jimmy Butler could do this. Like, Stephen A's not alone. Russo's not alone. The country's not alone. We down here in Miami never thought Jimmy Butler was capable of this.
It's a very real thing if he rises up with the defiance of, nobody thought I could do this. Because nobody did.
And to have legitimate credence to that, because everybody does. No one believed in me. And everyone's like, what the hell are you talking about, LeBron? You were on the cover of SI when you were in high school. Everybody believed you could do this.
Right.
But Jimmy, it's true. Nobody believed an entire offense with Kyle Lowry out and no natural point guard. Drink, Mike, sure. With no natural point guard, Jimmy Butler is running the offense. Everything's going through Jimmy. You want him touching the ball. Like Dallas is with Luka, like the LeBron teams of old, everything needs to go through Jimmy Butler. And no one had that team that had to do that being championship good. Nobody legitimately could believe in it. Nobody believed in you. He can actually say it and it be true.
The Heat did?
You gotta think in their heart of hearts that they're even surprised by this. How he has 5 40-point games in the postseason, how he's 2 away from Dwayne Wade's franchise record just in the postseason alone, it's bonkers.
Chris, that's what I'm saying. Not even the Heat thought in their wildest dreams he could be this.
Didn't Dwayne Wade kind of tell the Heat, yo, this is your guy?
He did.
Maybe Dwayne Wade's the guy that believed.
Maybe.
Heat lifer in Utah. That was a reason that Jimmy Butler, Dwayne Wade said, these guys are about what you're about. These guys will make the machine around what you believe you are. Jimmy Butler keeps giving voice, Stugotz, to they let me be who I am here. And in the undercurrent of that is they let me be an asshole, Stugotz. Like,
Well, as long as being an asshole comes along with winning and him playing at this level, they're fine with it. Like, we know Riley. Dan, I'm wondering, because you know Riley very, very well. Does he love this team in a way that he'll never love the LeBron teams? Like, this is a Riley type team. Like, oh, you thought I was done? Here's a bunch of ragtag guys. I have a starting backcourt of Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, and we're on the verge of making it to the NBA Finals. Like, he prefers this team, this path, right?
I mean, Stugotz, he did it with Duncan Robinson, got him to the finals as well. Pat Riley, it can't be disputed, right? I mean, the job ran Phil Jackson out of there. Phil Jackson wasn't built for it. He's still advising with the Lakers. But Phil Jackson didn't want to work, didn't want to turn his life over to this stupidity in a way that is soaked in fuck Boston. And Pat Riley is nearing 80 years old.
The best.
Nearing 80 years old.
Looks great.
And that place is built in his likeness with his people, all of whom have learned in that brainwashed cult for 30 years because they've all been there that long.
Are they doing flashbacks with Adrian Brody's character when he's looking in the mirror, or a flash forward?
No, that's his father, I think.
I think they were tapping into the father stuff that they haven't even.
Pat Riley's father stuff is deep.
So much meat on that bone. They haven't gotten to it, but it also resembles Pat Riley in the future. Roy thought it was a flash forward. I thought it was a flashback to his dad.
Dan, Mike is right. This story is going to be about, if they finish it off, it's going to be about Riley. And I am begging you to make it about Jimmy Butler. I don't know how you do it, but you're great at what you do. But it has to be about Jimmy Butler.
This hour is us building the narrative.
I'm great at what I do in print, he says. Like, I gotta... This, what Mike has just said, these are the things, these are the reasons that I love all of this. For those of you who think I'm the urinator and always sit off to the side on the emotion of sports, it's this stuff that moves you when when you can watch people that you care about and the things that they built and the things they believe in. Because this has been, Stugotz, in the middle of us becoming what we became in Miami, that was the only sterling sports thing we had. This thing that shines by the bay, that makes cool shit no matter weather. Here's the writer again.
If you're listening right now, Dan's being a writer.
It's cool. It's a cool story.
Don't stop being a writer.
Oh,
This is
man,
where I
come on,
needed
I
your
was getting
writer
goosebumps
superpower.
on that.
Come on.
Come on, man.
We have
That's
Chris
my
Whitting-
style.
Yeah.
It's cool.
That's cool, bro. We have Chris Whittingham in position.
Okay, I will go to Chris Whittingham in a second.
They're talking about what's at stake for Spo. I mean, oh
It's
my
starting.
God.
The narrative.
There's nothing at stake.
You guys know more than most that Miami has it doesn't ever get to matter like this in sports. We've been bad at sports for a long time. We have to play class clowns, at least in part, because the sports haven't been any good. And when you still get excited, Mike, when the national media comes to town?
I do, because they finally get to watch our team, and maybe they get to learn a little something
Right.
during their time down here.
Can we do a parade of gas bags? Because up until now, no one's really talked about them.
A little trickier with us now.
Let's go out to Chris Whittingham in the other room. I see everyone is very animated there. Stephen A. Smith is there. Stephen A. Smith, as I said, will join us later in the show. He is in Miami. He was wearing a white jacket yesterday, and he was mojitos and cigars.
He loves it here,
He
man.
really does love it in Miami. Whittingham, what's going on in the kitchen, please? Give us a live report.
Well, I can tell you, Dan, having attended the Heat game yesterday, that Stephen A. Smith was absolutely holding court. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the debate that is present right now on First Take, and that is, what is at stake for Eric Spoelstra? What is his place in NBA history, having not won a championship without LeBron James? Christopher Mad Dog Russo starts the argument by saying he wouldn't consider him a top 15 coach of all time. 15, Dan, despite his multiple championships. He listed the fact that the Miami Heat have not won a championship without LeBron James under Eric Spoelstra, and also that the Miami Heat should have won 4 while LeBron was here. That it was an embarrassment against the Dallas Mavericks. All the while, Stephen A. Smith was interrupting, saying, oh my God, this is ridiculous. And you know why I thought it was ridiculous? Because, in the middle of it, he called him Mr. Ireland, having come back from vacation. So he listed off all the players that have played for Phil Jackson, that have played for Pat Riley. He said, and I quote, Bob McAdoo for crying out loud. Michael Cooper. He just took the opportunity to list all these names. He also then went right where it hurts for Christopher Magdo Russo. He talked about Red
our back. And all the players, he said, and I quote, Havlicek and the rest of the crew. That hit him right where it hurts. Back to you, Dan.
Thank you, Whittingham.
A perfect
An
report.
excellent, soulful report. We will check back in with you a little bit later in the show. I do, though, Mike, as we continue, and we're going to get more and more annoying, not less and less annoying, as these teams hopefully make deeper runs. I again want to put the audience with you, Mike, in the shower as you tried to scrub yesterday off of you, and is your iPhone wet as you
It's really hard to text when you're in the shower. I like a steamy shower, and then I'm trying to say, how about this? And it comes out humbug. I just have to talk to text. But then you have the shower going on.
Have you ever tried to call in to Zolak?
Oh, Miami fans have tried to call into Boston radio, and then they nuke it and realize what's going on.
I want the details, though, because I want to infect one of these shows. It's been a long time. I want the details. I want you to give me where and what you listened to after Miami Heat victories over Boston, so that our listeners might be able to get in there in a phony Boston accent and make some sort of complaints or make some sort of jokes.
I love listening to it, and I just wait around for them to go to callers because the hosts are irrational enough as it is. Again, one of the hosts said, entering this series, I thought Jaylen Brown was the second best player in it. Already conceding that, of course, Jason Tatum is the best. But now I'm ready to bump up Jimmy to second after what I saw. But then they go to
Willing to. Very nice of them.
All right, Benny and Plymouth, you're on. What do you got?
But Jaylen Brown, who you kind of know to fear, but I think Mike's got it right when he says terrifying because he gets you 8 first quarter points and then it finishes the game with 13. And you're like, I don't know how that happened exactly. I know he's a good second player, but Tatum took that team from him.
Benny and Plymouth, what do you got? We really miss Smart. We got it. Someone's got to cut Tyler. Cut him out from under his knees. You got to go at Tyler. You got to make it difficult for Tyler to shoot a ball. He came in. He kept him in the game.
Yes.
He did.
Yeah, you didn't have Marcus Smart out there to body up Tyler Hero, and he killed us, man. He killed us.
You got to injure. So
I'll hang up and listen.
You got to injure him. You got to Marcus Smart needs to be in there.
You just got to make him think about his landing.
Did anyone call in blasting Evaldi?
in the middle of it.
I promise you they did.
Like a stray shot. How does he give up 5 homers in the middle of a Celtics post-game show?
That's my favorite part about the Boston experience is after they asked the host, how you doing? The pleasantries. We always had a rule, no pleasantries. But then the host asked, no, Sal and Lynn, how are you doing? Man, well, tonight was a tough game, and Evaldi got lit up.
How long do you spend extra time in the shower? Is this is a meditative time for you? This is your end of the night scrubbing. You are ready to go to bed refreshed with a smile on your face, even though the Panthers broke your heart yesterday.
Yeah, whistling. I was so happy that the Miami Heat gave me a solid nightcap. I rested easy for the 4 hours of sleep that I got.
You have to help me build content around listening to this.
How do you get COVID? What happened to Horford? He should be playing.